All right, diving into the America's Cup today.
Oh, yeah.
But, we like to do things a little differently here. Not just watching the boats fly around. We're getting into the nitty-gritty, the pre-start.
Yeah, the pre-start.
Before the starting gun even goes off, those maneuvers that can make or break a team.
Absolutely. It's where the real battle begins.
Exactly.
Setting the tone for the whole race.
We're talking INEOS Britannia, GBR, the challengers, up against the defending champs, Emirates Team, New Zealand, NZL. And just to spice things up, we've got data from the Louis Vuitton Cup.
Right.
Just to see what other tactics might come into play. Now, you've been digging deep into this pre-race analysis.
Yeah.
It's like Moneyball meets the open ocean, right?
Yeah, exactly. Using data to try and predict those starting line moves.
So why are these pre-start tactics so crucial in a race as prestigious as the America's Cup?
It's all about control. Think of it like a chessboard,
Yeah.
Every move you make, every position you take affects what happens next.
Right, so the pre-start is all about positioning your boat in the most advantageous spot before the
right.
game even begins.
Exactly. A tiny edge at the start can easily snowball into a huge lead by the finish.
Okay, makes sense. So let's break this down, starting with the Brits, INEOS Britannia, GBR. The data paints them as the bold ones, always pushing.
Yeah.
What strategies did we see from them in the Louis Vuitton Cup that might give us some clues about their game plan for Barcelona?
Well, GBR, they're all about calculated aggression. One of their signature moves is the port boat circle. They enter the starting box on port tack, circle around, and boom, they're in a commanding position, forcing their opponent to react.
So they're dictating the terms of engagement right from the start.
Exactly.
Now, their data also highlights tactics like hooking, jibe to push, and tack to push. It all sounds very assertive.
Oh, they are. Hooking, for example. That's a very direct tactic. GBR gets up close and personal with their opponent,
Okay.
trying to disrupt their progress, maybe even force them into an early start.
Wow.
And then you've got the jibe to push and tack to push. Those are all about using their boat's momentum, and the wind, of course, to pressure their opponents.
Right.
Almost like herding sheepdogs, steering them into a bad position.
And the data shows that these aggressive tactics really worked for them.
Oh, yeah, they were incredibly effective.
It seems like their data definitely backs up that aggressive reputation. So what about the defenders then? Team New Zealand. They're known for being incredibly strategic, tough to read.
Yeah, NZL, they're a different beast altogether.
What does the data tell us about them?
Well, there's a catch. We only have data on NZL from their earlier races,
Oh, really?
not from the Louis Vuitton Cup finals.
Interesting.
It's very likely they were holding back, keeping their best moves secret.
So we're dealing with a bit of a poker face here,
Exactly.
which makes it even more interesting.
Oh, absolutely. But even from those earlier races, we can see they prefer a more calculated, adaptable approach.
Okay.
They use the tack to push, too, like GBR, but not as aggressively.
Right.
For them, it's more about precision, perfect timing, using the wind shifts and their boat speed to their advantage.
So less brute force, more finesse.
Exactly. And they're also quite fond of a move called the shift, right?
Okay.
Subtle maneuver. But when you're in a strong position, it lets you control the other boat's options, maybe even force a mistake.
Interesting.
What I find really intriguing is how NZL's tactics change. Depending on whether they're on port or starboard tack at the start,
Right.
suggests a level of adaptability. Makes them really hard to predict.
It's like they're playing 3D chess out there, adapting their strategy on the fly.
That's a great way to put it. They may not be as outwardly aggressive as GBR, but make no mistake, NZL is there to win. They're playing a different game, a longer game.
Where patience and adaptability are key.
Exactly.
Now, we've also got Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, ITA. They're not actually in the America's Cup, so why are we even looking at their data?
Good question.
And how does it compare to GBR and NZL?
ITA, they're our wild card. They didn't make it to the America's Cup, true. But their data is fascinating, especially when you compare it to NZL.
So you're thinking NZL might have learned a thing or two from watching ITA.
It's definitely possible. Remember, these teams study each other constantly,
Yeah.
looking for any little advantage.
So they could have added some new wrinkles to their strategies.
Exactly.
This is shaping up to be an amazing tactical battle.
Oh, yeah.
GBR, the bold challenger, going head-to-head with NZL, the cool and collected defender.
A real clash of styles.
A battle of wits on the water. And we're about to see it all unfold.
And that's what's so fascinating, Riz. Two completely different approaches. And the data suggests either one could gain the upper hand.
It's like a heavyweight boxing match. You know both fighters' styles, but until that bell rings.
You never know who's landing that first punch.
Exactly. So let's play this out a bit. Based on their data, How do you see this pre-start battle actually unfolding?
Okay, so picture this. GBR enters the starting box. On port tack, their favorite.
Right.
They're going to be itching to unleash that port boat circle. Put NZL on the defensive right from the get-go.
Assert their dominance early.
Exactly. But NZLs, they're not easily rattled
No,
if they
no.
anticipate that move, which they probably will. They could counter with a perfectly timed tack to push.
Oh, I see.
Use GBR's momentum against them.
A classic counterpunch.
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier, NZL, they're adaptable. What other options might they have?
See, this is where it gets really interesting. NZL could go for that shift-right maneuver. Instead of engaging directly, they're controlling GBR's options, forcing them into a less favorable spot.
So it's this high-stakes chess match before the race even begins.
Exactly. And don't forget about GBR and that hooking tactic.
Right. They like to get up close and personal.
Exactly. But NZL, they've shown they can handle it. They use their boat's agility, their knowledge of the wind, slip out of GBR's grasp at the last second.
It's incredible, the anticipation, the split-second decision-making. These pre-start moves can make or break the entire race.
Absolutely. A strong pre-start, it's a huge psychological advantage. If GBR can rattle NZL early, set the tone.
Get in their heads.
Exactly. But if NZL weathers the storm, stays cool, counters GBR's aggression,
Right.
they might just find themselves in the driver's seat.
Fascinating.
The data shows ITA's strategy looks a lot like NZL's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're using a lot of the same moves, which makes you wonder.
Like NZL has a secret weapon up their sleeve.
Maybe.
Interesting.
But here's the kicker.
Yeah.
They've got different starting strategies. NZL is completely comfortable starting a few seconds behind.
Wait, really? A few seconds doesn't seem like much in a normal race.
Right.
But in the America's Cup, where everything's so close,
Every second is crucial.
that's got to be significant.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so they're deliberately starting late.
On average, about 3 seconds later.
Wow, that's wild. So they're giving up that initial control.
Seems that way.
They must be really confident in their boat speed.
It seems like it, yeah, that they can catch up and then some.
Wow, that is fascinating.
NZL is interesting.
Yeah,
They're willing to take a hit to give a knockout blow later.
they're playing the long game.
Exactly.
It's like they're saying, go ahead, make your move. We'll be over here planning how to leave you in our dust.
laughs. Something like that.
And we talked about how ITA's tactics mirror NZL's a bit.
Right, very similar.
What if they're using that to anticipate GBR's moves?
That's a good point.
Like they're looking in a mirror?
Could be a strategy.
Because ITA went head-to-head with GBR in the Leaveton Cup finals.
Yep.
And they put up a good fight.
They did. They even used that closed RC door against GBR.
Wow. So it can be done.
Oh, yeah. Any tactic can be countered.
I bet NZL was taking notes. We can't predict the future,
Nope.
but based on these pre-start tactics,
Yeah.
are there any clues about how this GBR-NZL showdown might go?
One thing that stands out to me is the average speed at the starting line.
Okay, speed at the starting line.
Consistently, NZL is just a bit faster than their opponents at that crucial moment.
How much faster are we talking about?
It's not a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, this is a sport measured in millimeters, right?
You got it, but even a fraction of a knot can make a difference.
Okay, so it's significant,
Well, yeah.
and NZL consistently has that edge,
The data shows they make it a priority.
which makes their willingness to start a few seconds late even more interesting.
Right. It's like they're saying,
Yeah.
we'll catch up and then some.
We'll let you have the head start, but we'll run you down with our superior speed.
Laughs, exactly.
So they're playing the long game.
They are.
They're banking on that speed and strategy
Yeah. Yep.
to take the lead later on. So if we were placing bets, which we're not,
Of course not.
it sounds like you're saying NZL might have the advantage here.
Well, they're okay with letting GBR play their aggressive game
Right.
because they've got the speed and the strategy to turn it around.
It's a classic clash of styles.
It is.
GBR wants to control everything from the get-go.
Right? And NZL is more adaptable. They're like, we can roll with the punches.
We'll see what you've got,
Exactly.
and then we'll use it against you.
Ah.
It's amazing to think that for years, people have watched these pre-start maneuvers with no idea what was really going on.
Right.
But with this data, it's like we can see right into the minds of these masterminds.
It's a whole new level of understanding.
It really highlights how complex and strategic this sport really is.
Oh, absolutely. And it makes you think, imagine what we could do,
What do you mean?
taking this analysis even further.
Okay, now you've got me hooked.
We've seen incredible technology in the America's Cup already, right?
Oh yeah, the boat designs, the hydrofoil.
It's like they're flying.
Exactly.
But what if we brought that same innovation to the pre-start?
Okay, I'm listening.
Artificial intelligence.
Whoa!
Real-time data analysis.
AI captains battling it out before the race even starts.
Think about it.
That's next level.
Boats learning from each other instantly,
Adjusting their tactics on the fly
based on what the AI is seeing, predicting.
to shut down the opponent.
That would change everything.
It would be fascinating to see if human intuition could keep up.
Right. Could you outsmart a machine like that?
We'd be watching these boats think at lightning speed.
It'd be a whole new level of excitement.
And honestly, with how fast technology moves,
I know, right?
I don't think it's impossible.
It's the future of the sport.
It really makes you think.
It does.
Well, this deep dive has been incredible.
I've had a blast.
We went from those pre-race flybys that look chaotic
Seemingly chaotic.
to uncovering the strategy,
The psychology.
even the potential future of the sport,
It's amazing how much depth there is.
to those few minutes before the race even begins.
Absolutely.
So listeners, next time you watch the America's Cup,
Keep an eye out.
you're not just watching boats sailing around.
Nope.
It's a high-stakes game of strategy.
Of skill, of wits.
And maybe someday, artificial intelligence. Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Happy sailing, everyone.